Alrighty, so it's been a while since we've done this. Anything like this.
Quite some time with all the events that have been going on.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about something that aired only a couple of days ago, which is remarkably current for us. Because normally it's stuff that
Very
aired
much
like
so.
20 years ago.
Yeah, with me and our good buddy being kind of behind in the times.
Well, I mean, also like the TV shows we've covered, none of them have been super current. Oh, actually, no, that's not true. We did Twin Peaks, and we reviewed the last episode of that like only like a couple of months after it came out. That was
With that
borderline
one.
current.
Meh.
So anyway, we're going to talk about the August 20th edition of AEW Rampage.
Hmm.
So, Dave, you have seen what, like one AEW show, maybe two?
About that, I haven't exactly been keeping up with any of the stuff that was going or any additional stuff that you've shown me. But for most part, it's been the couple of shows that you showed me in the past with ANE or AEW, excuse
Yeah.
me,
So I think you've seen, if I'm not mistaken, you've seen the first Double or Nothing and the first episode of Dynamite.
with those ones.
I think those are the two you've seen. So,
Mhm.
what did you think? What were you expecting going into this? Because it's only like a 1 hour show.
Yeah, with that, in most cases, coming from the previous stuff that you've shown me, I had to get used to how quick it was in comparison to how it was with other bigger shows that you showed me in the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in some cases, it's like, "Oh, this is going to be interesting." And then it turns out to just be only a little bit. Just with that, it's like, I expected it, but still. But nevertheless, just with the work they do, the stories that they run through, and just the word kind of escapes me, but just with the people that work on it and all the stuff that's on it, it's good for wrestling with all the stuff that they show there.
It is, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you knew nothing about the big debut going into this because you're not really a fan.
Yeah, no, like at the very most, I probably kind of got hints of the base of, to spoil it, CM Punk going off for the time, but then coming back with this, and it was kind of like, oh, okay, we're going on with this.
So they had been dropping. I don't want to say hints because hints implies that it would have been slightly subtle. They weren't subtle.
It's wrestling. When is it ever subtle?
I mean, some of like AEW storytelling is really good about like they'll make they'll say something and then 6 months later they'll pick it up and you're like, oh wait, they referenced that like 6 months ago. So they're pretty good about stuff
Uh,
like that. But
mm,
like they didn't they never said CM Punk is going to debut on Friday. They
uh,
said everything short of that though.
uh,
I mean, they booked the United Center in Chicago for I'm sorry, but it's a B show. Like it's not their main TV show. They were going to have to deliver something big
mm.
in Chicago. And I mean,
And yeah, this was it, supposedly.
they had, you know. Anyway, so I was a little surprised how they start the show because they just bring him out right away.
No, it's a way to do it. Just get the big thing out from there, as well as him kind of broadcasting his next match coming in and going on from there.
Well, it also makes sense because A, you don't want to rush him, and if you put him at the end of the show, unless you've got something in place with like TNT, like, hey, we might go 10 minutes over, you don't want to rush him because people have been waiting for this for a long time. And also, if you do it at the end of the show, the crowd isn't going to pay attention to anything that happens before it. Like they're just going to be chanting for Punk.
Yeah, pretty much. The crowd is very vocal about those sorts of things.
The crowd is very they know what they're here for, and they're here for one person for the like
Mm,
for the most part.
yeah, yeah.
So basically, we open up the show the announcers get introduced, and then boom, Cult of Personality hits, and the
Yeah.
crowd just. I think they popped for about 5 minutes straight. It was
No, it was a fairly good long sequence of everyone was happy. Punk was showing off from there, saying hello to some of the particular fans or people in the crowd. That, yeah, it was kind of nearly teetering on the edge of being too long, but it sort of found the right sweet spot for how long it was for him coming back.
my favorite part is where like he dives into the crowd and you see like the security guard just losing his shit. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" It's so good. I'm like, I feel so bad for that security guard because like, he's like,
Like,
"The fuck do I do?"
Everything makes sense. What are you doing?
Because it's like, what are you gonna? In that case, what do you do? Like, you can't get him. Like, you're not gonna pull Punk out of the crowd because you're gonna get your ass beat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucked for the security guard, but it was a cool moment.
Yeah.
So, Punk gets in the ring, and right before, like, basically he gets a microphone, he goes up to the rope, and they're like, "Oh, cutting for commercial," which I thought was really clever.
Like, couple-second commercial. I was kind of like, on the one hand, I'm not surprised, but on the other hand, you maybe could have timed that better, but...
No, see, here's why I think it was really clever, right? So, they bought themselves an extra 90 seconds before he says anything, right? So that gives people who are watching at home enough time to text their friends and be like, "Oh my god."
Okay, a little bit of additional time to throw up all the particular sides, be like, "This is happening!"
And also it gives time for like it to go like hit Twitter and everything and for more people to tune in. So I think that was actually probably planned like that.
No, that definitely makes sense. No, on whole, yeah, that would be a fairly good strategy for it.
Yeah, so did you remember like anything that like Punk talked about in his little promo? Because he mentions a few things that are like they're not subtle references to the competition.
Again, just from my notes and with quickly rewatching it, did go by kind of fast. No, in the most case, it was just the fact that he was back, wanting to be there and just to show the new crew that's in there what needs to be done, that sort of bit from there. That and the free ice cream. My apologies, but I easily get distracted by ice cream.
Okay, I'm going to go through it like I'm probably going to miss some, but he made a number of references to the competition. So, a part of his promo, he says like he needed to get himself healthy, both like mentally and emotionally, and all that, and he wasn't going to stay in the place that got him sick.
Yes, I did catch that.
Clearly, that was. He talks about when he left Ring of Honor to go to the other place, and how that meant he was leaving pro wrestling, and it's like, okay, that's another dig at WWE. Also, the ice cream bar thing is also a shot at them.
Yeah.
So back in probably 2011, part of his shtick was he was doing basically like the rebel kind of gimmick, like where he was like, "This place sucks, so I'm going to make it better." And one of the things that he was bringing up a lot was back in it was probably the 90s, like early 90s. WWE like had ice cream bars with like their talent on them, and apparently they were delicious. And like one of his things was like, "I'm gonna bring them back."
Okay.
So that was another little, jab there. And they also set up the match between him and Darby Allin, because Darby Allin and Sting are in the rafters watching, which is,
it definitely works for them. Like, I know of Sting a bit, but as for the new one, it was kind of like a protege sort of thing, or
I think you've seen Darby Allin maybe once or twice, but he's definitely somebody that you can tell that they're like, this guy's gonna be a cornerstone of the company in 5 years. they're definitely building Darby Allin to be like one of their main event kind of guys.
Oh.
So I don't know how I feel about that because I'm like, it's kind of weird doing that match right away because it's A, it's face versus face, and B, like, who loses that?
It could also be one of those particular, the word specifically escapes me, but kind of the old guard training or going against the new guard challenge sort of thing.
Yeah, that's totally, I think, the vibe they're going for. But the thing is, like, you're not going to have Punk lose his first match in Chicago in 7 years. That's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
I would argue you probably shouldn't have Darby Allin losing either.
Yeah, just with the amount of popularity that Punk has, and I'm not sure with Darby, I believe you were saying, but since he's new and they're building it up, he must at least have a base to kind of work on from there.
Well, yeah, and you can tell, like, the fans in Chicago, when, like, Punk mentions Darby Allin, they're all kind of like, there's, like, a split second where, like, oh, who do we chant for now? Because they all really like Darby Allin, too.
Mm-hmm.
Which was kind of a fun little moment. Anyway, I thought it was a really fun segment, even though it went, like, 20 minutes.
Nah.
But, I mean, fair enough, right? They're spending a lot of money on it.
Mm-hmm.
So next up, we have Private Party versus Jurassic Express.
Yes.
What did you think of this?
So, couple of things. Firstly, just with both of their introductions before the match and the other sorts of thing from there, it's just kind of a case of, I could somewhat understand it with the ridiculousness of it, but I'm on two sides of it because at first I was like, well, I'm not sure I'm going to like either of these kind of parties, or either of these groups of guys. But then with Private Party, it's kind of like, yeah, not with their aesthetic or with how they were doing. And then, of course, with Jurassic Express, it's just, oh my God, it's so stupid. But nevertheless, these guys are good. And
it's
gosh
so
darn
good.
it, with Luchasaurus, it's just like, it's stupid, but it works. Gosh darn you, stupid part of my brain.
Okay, so one of my favorite things with Jurassic Express is they did this whole thing because they brought Christian into the company like a couple of months ago,
Mm-hmm.
and they've kind of paired him with Jurassic Express, which I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But they did this whole gimmick where like he's introducing himself to Jurassic Express, and he turns to Luchasaurus and he's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm 1/16 Stegosaurus."
My
I'm
gosh.
like, that's really funny. It was something like that. It was great.
I don't know. I might have to go on YouTube and just maybe see if I could find a clip of that and just be like, I'd love to actually sort of see the reaction to that when he says that.
It's pretty great. So Jungle Boy and Isaiah Cassidy start, and both of them are like, they're very quick, high-flying guys, and it's quite good.
Yeah.
Mark Quinn gets tagged in. Jungle Boy kind of just keeps getting beat down for a while until he's able to make a tag. Luchasaurus comes in and just kind of wrecks everyone.
Hello, I am the big guy. Slam!
Okay, so I don't even... Cassidy hits Jungle Boy with this Canadian Destroyer like off... I think it's off of like Luchasaurus' shoulders. I'm like, that's
yes.
fucking insane.
Yeah, that was a little crazy.
Oh, also Matt Hardy comes out with Private Party because they're heels now because they've aligned with Matt Hardy.
Okay, yeah.
Because but I mean, like, I also think it's really clever to like pair Private Party with somebody like Matt Hardy, because like if you're a tag team, there's kind of nobody better to be learning from than Matt Hardy, arguably.
Yeah.
He's kind of got a little bit of experience in that realm.
Mm-hmm, so true.
Just a little. Okay, so...
And I think aside from that with the match there is that the Young Bucks also showed up.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no, like when they first showed up, it's like, oh no, what are you guys doing? Please don't interrupt this sort of match. But then they just sort of sat there and it's like, You're not interrupting it, but still.
What did you feel about the? How did you feel about the Young Bucks?
Being there, case of, I've seen you guys go before and can kind of see it from there, but I'm questioning what's your game? What are you sort of doing? The intimidation fact is there, but what sort of match is coming up for you guys? And I believe they were mentioning that they're one of the teams that's going on to the big wrestling match. I don't think it was Dynamite. I think it's a couple shows from there.
Yeah, no. So the Bucks are going to defend their tag titles at All Out against the winner of this tournament.
For this one, because
cage match.
Yes, Jurassic Express was going to be facing off
against the winner of Varsity Blondes and the Lucha Brothers.
Yes, with those ones, yeah.
Yeah. And then whoever wins that tournament faces the Young Bucks at All Out in a steel cage. Because the Young Bucks are heels, and they've had a lot of people interfering to help them win, so they booked a steel cage to, in theory, stop people from interfering.
It's like, oh yeah, everyone's all concerned. Fine, we'll make it a steel cage with little surprises, I'm sure.
Also, I don't think a steel cage has stopped anybody from interfering since, 1983, so...
Yeah.
I mean, I like it because I think it'll be, I can't get, no matter what team they put in there with the Bucks, it'll be a good match, so I'm happy.
No, non-whole. Again, with Jurassic Express, just the bit of silliness with it and just their skill in the ring, it will definitely be interesting. But as for the other teams, I'm not too sure with how experienced they are, or
you would
how long it's been
since
I've seen a wrestling match.
You wouldn't be familiar with the Varsity Blondes because they're fairly new, but you would have seen the Lucha Brothers.
Okay.
Because that was Pentagon and Ray Phoenix. I don't know if you
remember. Oh, okay, yes, with Phoenix.
Yeah. Anyway, so Jurassic Express win and move forward in the tournament. And again, I thought it was a fun match.
Yeah, with that one, it turned out fairly good.
Then we have Jade Cargill versus Kiera Hogan, which I think went about 2 minutes.
Yeah, on the one hand, with first seeing it last night and rewatching it this morning, it was kind of the case of, yeah, this was quick. On the one hand, can you really blame it? But then, on the other hand, it was didn't you kind of need to keep time with the show? But then, with first discussing about it and starting from the beginning, it's all right, CM Punk. It's it's probably not the worst case. This match ended quickly, but still questionable.
I mean, I think this was probably always planned to be really short because they're trying to make Cargill look really dominant and powerful. So,
which, just as it is fairly easy.
I know I don't know how tall she is, but she has to be really tall.
Good near 6 foot, maybe almost.
I would be surprised if she isn't at least 6 foot. Let me just do a quick Google here.
There you go.
Let's see if it's easily. Oh, 5'10". Okay, so that's still quite tall.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, she beats Hogan pretty quickly, and it's
oh, shush.
I mean, it's fine.
On whole, again, just kind of coming into the match and not really having too much experience with either of them. I'm not sure how much notoriety they kind of hold on to. I can definitely see with Jade that, yeah, they want to make her a real competitor with things. But as with Miss Hogan, though, I'm not sure if it's a case of she's part of the big thing that's sort of going on, or kind of a new blood coming in that wants to show her stuff.
So she had worked for Impact prior, Impact Wrestling. I don't know if she's signed with AEW, but I think she's done a few matches for them now. I wouldn't be surprised if they sign her because she's quite good. Jade Cargill is definitely someone that they're investing heavily in. I don't think she had a ton of experience before joining the company, but I don't know. I'm just not. Let me just. Oh yeah, she basically was just signed and then Yeah. Okay, so she really didn't have any experience before coming in.
Oh, okay. It's just kind of a case of you're gonna do wrestling. It's like, do I need to know anything specific? Can you lift up a person? Yes. Then you're fine.
I wouldn't be surprised. Let's see. She played basketball in university. So they might have even just found her that way and just been like, hey, we're going to offer you a contract to train.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, there's definitely, I think both of them have a very bright future.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go to John Moxley versus Daniel Garcia.
Yeah.
So,
Again, just with the intro to it, it looked like it was going to be good, but then it only lasted so long. And with any sort of holds and other sorts of things I see in matches, I can appreciate the technique of it, but there's only so much entertainment that you can get out of that sort of stuff.
so I love how they do like they do the promo before they go to the ring, right, with Mark Henry.
Yeah, with that.
And like you've got Daniel Garcia and 2.0 there, and they're like, and Garcia's talking about like, oh, I'm gonna beat Moxley because like that'll like really help my career and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, that all makes sense. And then Moxley's like, no, I'm just gonna hurt someone. Which
Not just the case that he pissed, he wants to bring the pain.
yeah, it's great. So I have one note on Daniel Garcia, which is one, shave those sideburns, and two, he's got a haircut. He's got a haircut that you could set a watch to.
Hmm.
Yeah, not a big Simpsons fan, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So he just kind of looks super boring.
Yeah.
He looks like the poster child for Ring of Honor. Like he's a really good technical wrestler, but is kind of just boring looking.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really good. They just need to do something to make him, have a bit more appeal.
It wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt.
So they get to the ring. Oh, and Moxley comes out with Eddie Kingston, who you've never seen before.
I did notice that there was kind of a guy shouting or giving the direction or whatnot to him. It's like supposed either assistant or buddy of his, maybe.
Yeah, so they're meant to be buddies. And I love because like Moxley starts walking to the ring by himself, and at some point Eddie Kingston just joins him. And I love because like, they've done this a few times before, where Eddie Kingston will just be like sitting on the steps somewhere in the arena, and Moxley will walk by and be like, "Come on." And I just love that idea of like, oh, we're gonna go kick somebody's ass? Okay. And Eddie Kingston is just there.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, I love
Just
the faces. I love the faces that Eddie Kingston pulls.
Okay.
Like at the end of the show, where he like puts his arms around, I think it's like Darby Allin and Sting, and he has this big goofy grin on his face. It's so good.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Just with your comment about him just showing up, maybe just a promo in the future with Moxley, just him saying he's going to beat someone up, he just bursts through the door. It's like, someone need a hand?
I could like, you're joking, but I could totally see that being something they do.
Instead, it would be more like he bursts through the door. It's like,
So they don't get a lot of time. I think this is the one match that's hurt the most by Punk going so long.
yeah, with that, because on the one hand, it kind of went so long with, but then just with the believability, I didn't think it hurt the match too much, just with the grapples and whatnot that were going on. With Moxley getting Daniel in a headlock, yeah, if he didn't tap out when he did.
Yeah, so Garcia does a lot of like kicks to the legs and a lot of like, because they attacked Moxley Wednesday night on Dynamite and attacked his leg with like a crowbar or some kind of metal pipe or something.
Yeah,
so they had kind of like established that. Moxley hits a few German suplexes on Garcia, which look quite good.
Yes, yes.
The match overall is quite good. Garcia puts him in kind of a not great looking sharpshooter, which Moxley turns into the bulldog choke, which I thought was that's a pretty cool like inventive finish.
Yeah, that's true. Just with the establishment of the first one and him trying to really push it and go along, but then being close enough, it's like, oh, I can get you in a headlock.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of a cool little, like, okay, like it kind of like works for everybody because like Moxley still gets the win, but Garcia kind of only loses because he got like because he tried to
A
go too
little
far on
too.
the hold.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't really like hurt Garcia all that much.
So again, this was another one of those matches where I was like, it was a little short, just with the amount of time they probably had to work with. But then, out of nowhere, they fall.
Oh yeah, so 2.0 get in the ring and attack Moxley. Kingston comes in, and then Sting and Darby Allin make the save at the end.
And yeah, with this one, I think I'm a bit more fuzzy on the details. Like, I remember everyone just kind of piling in and just beating the schnot out of one another, but it was a case of it was late at night the first time I saw it, and then it just kind of sped by this morning when I was double checking with it. So I couldn't remember the specific names or other particular people that actually managed in there. I did recognize Sting, though.
Yeah, I mean, so basically they want to send the crowd home happy, so Sting does like this Stinger Splash and then hits a Scorpion Death Drop, and then everybody
Yes.
just kind of is happy. I was a little surprised that Punk didn't make an appearance, considering Darby Allin and Sting were in the ring. You could have maybe done something to tease their upcoming match there a bit more, but
Maybe true. Yeah. Again, maybe just with how the show was sort of going, he couldn't stick around for that long, or yeah, with the amount of time he had at the start, yeah, it would work. But as it is, it was probably good for the fans and everything with what they had at the start.
oh yeah, I mean, I don't think that like you had to do that. It's just I'm a little surprised that they didn't try to get.
Didn't want to push that envelope a little bit further.
Yeah, I mean, considering what they must be paying Punk to bring him in, like, let's get him on
Mm.
TV as much as possible.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so overall, what did you think of AEW Dynamite?
Again, on whole, and I'm not really sure if it's just a case of the amount of time it's been just with the situation of the show, how it was, and whatnot. I can definitely see its importance with all the particular stuff that went on, but it wasn't any of the big, oh, I'm going to remember this wrestling show for the whole time. It's mostly just the case, I think, that CM Punk is now permanently engraved in my mind. Thank you, audience. And I'm interested to see Jurassic Express and Luchasaurus with the work that he can supposedly do with Jungle Boy.
Mm-hmm.
And again, just intrigued since it's been a while since I've seen any sort of wrestling show. Yeah, with the last little while. It's not something I specifically keep up with.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is only their second episode of Rampage, so who's to say how it goes in the future, but I think they've used it really well to feature talent that they might not have time for every week on Dynamite. Because they only have 2 hours on TNT otherwise, so it's like, well, they have a pretty big roster. Okay, let's have this other show where we can feature people that, we still want to feature, but we don't necessarily always have time for.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's great for somebody like a Jungle Boy or someone like that who's clearly being positioned to be important in the future, but this is just another opportunity to get in front of the TV camera. Alrighty, so if you don't have anything else to add, Dave, I think we'll leave it there.
It's good to have a chat a bit about the wrestling, and here's to more interesting matches in the future and diving into the past to see what other crazy shenanigans have happened.
Speaking of which, I have something for us to watch for next week.
Which would be...
It's not wrestling related, though.
Should I bother asking which related it should be?
It's a movie.
Okay, it's not terrible, but also kind of which movie?
Okay, so it's a movie I haven't seen since, I want to say, probably like 98, somewhere around there. It's a movie called Darkman.
My brain is going in far many two different directions.
Perfect. I doubt you've ever seen it.
Yeah, it's not something I specifically recognize.
Does the name Sam Raimi mean anything to you?
Yes.
Okay, what do you know Sam Raimi for?
Curse you, brain. It's the fact that I do know the name, but I can't exactly slap the face onto anything specific.
Okay, so Sam Raimi directed the first 3 Spider-Man movies.
Ah, okay, that's what it was.
And he did The Evil Dead and a few other things. This was his first attempt at doing a superhero movie, sort of.
Ooh.
It's like a mid-budget movie from like 1990.
Okay.
And now, from memory, I remember quite enjoying it. Now, keep in
Okay.
mind, I haven't seen this since I was 8, and I probably watched it. I watched it at a friend's house, and I can't remember. I think it was taped off of either TNT or TBS. But it'll be fun to go back and experience this film again because I haven't seen it in, probably 13 years.
Okay.
No, more than 13 years.
I
Like
just dive
23
into
years.
it randomly and just be like,
Yeah, it popped into my head the other day, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute. We could watch that. That'd be fun. Anyway, so next week, Darkman. It'll be good.
Alright, it'll be neat.
Alrighty, until then, I'm Paul.
I'm Dave.